weekend. Need to continue where we left off in getting the pop-up headlights mounted properly and swiveling well. Also have some unboxing to do, some much awaited components for the headlights, for the tires, stuff have come in, so we're going to be opening those up and checking that out. So let's go ahead and get started. What we have here, we have the pop-up headlight motors that we're going to be unboxing, not installing, but just unboxing and testing them. Then we have the arms that go with them, which is the part that pushes and pulls the headlight assembly, causing it to go up and go down. So we'll be unboxing those, checking them out, and then here are these big boxes that we have underneath. I have two of them. Those are the rear tires for the Countach. These are the Pirelli tires. I actually picked these up from a tire distributor out of Germany. I ordered them from them. Their pricing was way better than any of the tire distributors here in the US. I'll put their information along the bottom. Great to work with. They would be willing to negotiate as well. So if you're trying to negotiate on shipping, because since they're coming from Germany, you're looking at expedited air freight. They worked with me on the price with that, and their price of the tires was way cheaper. Even with the shipping, it was still a lot cheaper than buying the tires here in the US. So they specialize in all tires, but they also carry a lot of the Pirelli tires for exotic cars, rally cars, the old Pirelli style that was used in older cars. You can get all that through them. So definitely recommend it if you're working on a project car that requires tires larger than what you're going to find over the counter. So let's go ahead and start opening these up, testing them out, so that way we can get onto the headlight assemblies and get working on the car. Here's the headlight motors. Here's what we're looking at here. Just going to have to modify this because the ones that I ordered are not the ones normally made for the Countach, because those are way overpriced, and all they are, I believe, is just Fiat ones. So I just went ahead with some General Motors ones that pretty much are the same size. So we have all that, so I'm just going to have to splice the wires here and then make my own harness. Here's one of them. Let's open the next one. Go. Another thing I'm going to have to do is also make the bracket that they will be then screwed to. That'll be mounted inside the fender, so that'll be upcoming. We'll take care of that. And here we have the arms that go on them. So these will be then mounted on like that. And then they have a little bit of a, kind of like a knuckle, as you can see there, where they can swivel a little bit, so that way it's not rigid. It has some movement there. So the only thing I need to do is supply a nut and washer, which you can get that anywhere over the counter, so I'm not worried about that. So let's go ahead and wire that up, make sure that that motor works. Let's go ahead and put some power on this one here. We'll test that one first. So we'll go ahead and ground that, and then add the 12-volt power here. Nice. They work great. Let's go ahead and try the other one. Slide that over. Go ahead and connect this one too. We'll ground that and put the power on it. Nice. Perfect. Okay, well, these look good. We'll go ahead and box them up until we're ready to mount them, which hopefully will be in the very near future. I'm hoping probably within the next couple weeks. We'll get them mounted, get all that connected and wired up so we can get back on the body. So let's go ahead and move these out of the way. Set these here so we can unbox these tires. I'm anxious to see how these suckers look. And we can also do a comparison with what's on there now, and I can show you the difference, because what's on there now, the aspect ratio is too fat. They're more of hot rod tires that the former owner put on there, and they're also too narrow. They're probably off by an inch or so, so it'd be cool to see these up against it and see how it's going to look. And then once we're done with the body and we move on to the suspension, I'll get all the tires put on. We also need to order the front ones as well. They're not hard to find though. That's a pretty common tire, so I can get those anywhere. I'm not too worried about that. So let's go ahead and unbox these. These are nice. Let me pull it out. These suckers are wide the way they should be. Profile is nice and low. Let's I'm going to take it around here and we'll put it up against what we have and do a comparison and see how it's going to look. You can already see it here, and I'm going to get closer on that. Move it here in front so you can see it. Obviously it needs to be raised, so if you put it up right here level with how it would be mounted, you can see you're still about 2 inches. 2 inches all around. So that will drop this car about 2 inches, which will be about right, because right now it's sitting approximately 1.5 to 2 inches too high for how a Countach should be off the ground, which is making it look too jacked up in the back. So this will definitely put it in the right level it needs to be in. And let me show you here from the back so you can see the width. Go ahead and wheel this right up against it. You can see the difference between what's on here now, the 295s, and then the new ones here. It's about, like I mentioned before, about 1 inch wider. So excited to get these things on in the near future because that will add to the Countach look from the back. Even though these are wide tires, they're just not wide enough, and they're not low profile like exotic car tires. They're too much of like a hot rod type tire. I am going to keep them since they were pretty much brand new. The former owner had put them on before it went into storage. Luckily, they didn't rot like the front ones did because they're a lot more expensive. The front ones I can get dirt cheap. So anyway, that pretty much wraps this up here. Just checking out the items that have come in to be unboxed. All right, we're going to go ahead and put all this stuff back and put it back upstairs in storage till we're ready to do the tires, all that stuff. But just going to go ahead and clean up all this so we can get focused now on the car itself and getting those pop-up headlight assemblies fitting properly so we can move on to the next phase. This is pretty much where we left off last time. We had fitted these in, at least on this side. Had it put in place, it was on the mounting bracket, and having a little bit of an issue getting it to hinge properly. If you didn't see that episode, you can check it out via the link above. But basically what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take this out. Because what I was able to do over this last week, I was able to get really good images of an original Lamborghini Countach headlight assembly. And I noticed a difference here where I have my arm coming up, the original one comes down and comes almost on a downward angle, curving in here. Take a look at these images. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sand down the two lids because some of the issue with it fitting was because of the roughness still on there from where I cut it off. So I'm going to sand it down smooth, finish that. Next thing I'm going to do, we're going to go ahead and do a mock-up of the side pieces, which ultimately are going to form the assembly, how it mounts. I'm going to reshape them, just some cardboard mock-ups so we can put them in there, see how it fits properly. And then next thing I'm going to do is once we get that set, I have some more sheet metal because on the outer sides, on both sides, I've kind of Frankensteined them up, trying to get them to fit because I realized I was off on some of my calculations there. So I don't want to leave it that way. So once we get it just perfect, I'm going to go ahead and recut these with the new sheet metal. Then we're going to break these off and re-epoxy the new ones in. Go ahead and fasten it in there, make sure everything's opening and closing fine. Hopefully that's what will get done this time. And then I can go ahead and then prime these and prep them. So that way next time around they're already in place. They're swiveling the way they need to and hinging properly to open and close. We can then focus on mounting the motors and the arms, getting that wired up and getting them working. So I'm going to go ahead, start sanding these, and we'll be right back. Just finished sanding around the edge, haven't done anything with the assembly, and to be honest, I've got it pretty close to fitting. But so now it's in nice and flush, so you turn on the headlight, pops up. Once it's done, goes right back down. Everything's looking good. It's still rubbing slightly right here. I beveled it a little bit on the edge of the lid on the inside, so that way I can clear it. So that's actually not too bad. I'm not too disappointed with that. I still want to rebuild it based on the original Lamborghini specs to make it fit a little bit better so it doesn't damage any of the paint once that's done. But this is still a big improvement. up, down. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit more and we'll be right back. Just went ahead and sanded it again, just cleaned it up a little bit more around the edges, got the spacing nice, so it's almost perfect. Almost perfect at this point. A little bit down in here I'm not too worried about because when we adjust the side pieces, the arms based off the real Countach, I think that's going to give us the clearance, but I'm really happy about this. So here we go, up, down. So I've gone ahead and I've sanded this down. I'm going to hit it with a thin coat of primer, because that way I can see any flaws, make sure that there's nothing that needs to be straightened out, because once this is in place, you want it to match nice and clean. You don't want it to be uneven or anything. So I'm going to prime that a little bit. We'll be right back to take a look at it and see how it looks in place, and then we'll start working on side pieces. And once all that is nice and clear and good to go, then we'll move on to the other side. Just finished priming it. Also touched up the body where we had all that some grease and dirt and stuff. I cleaned it off real good and just reprimed that real nice, make it all nice and clean since we're almost done on the side. But you can see here, it actually fits in really good. But because of this being nice and straightened up and now primed, it's accentuating the flaws in the body around here. And you'll also notice, and I'm going to come on this side here, but you'll notice when I push it completely into the hinge, it's a little bit of a tight gap all around there. You don't want it that tight. I need to open it up for the most part on the bottom and top, approximately about a 1/16 of an inch more, which I think will give me the space needed for this to open properly. Sides are fine, but you'll see here the cut went a little bit that way. So next time here, I'm going to bring my sander. I didn't bring my electric sander, which was a big mistake on my part. But we're going to go ahead and sand this about a 1/16 of an inch top and bottom. Then we're going to kind of straighten this up in here, and there's a little bit of imperfections there that need to be patched up and sanded smooth. And then I think this side is done and just awaiting the motor, and then we can move on to the other side. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and test it. We're going to make the side pieces correctly, and then I think that'll wrap it up for the passenger side. Okay, I just finished making this new side piece. This is pretty much the template off of a real Countach Headlight Assembly. It curves a little bit down and then you have your mounting point there. That didn't work for me. When I tested it, because of the way I mounted the brackets, it was throwing it off. So this right here was the accurate one here. So we've got the right pitch there of the angle. That matches up there. It comes into about 2.5 inches here, which is what you need for clearance, except mine's going to have a straight arm instead of curved down, which is a change from what I have here. What I had was it curving up. So it was slightly off, that's why we were hitting. So looks like this is the way to go. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here on the side, then we'll drill it out, and then we'll go ahead and put it in, test it, and see how it looks. Hopefully everything is good. We'll apply this template to the other assembly, and that one should go quicker, and then we can wrap this time up. The JB Weld compound is pretty much dried. I'm going to go ahead and remove these C-clamps. We went ahead and put on the new side piece. All nice and cut. This should enable it to rotate properly. So that's what it's looking like now. All nice and clean, no more of that Frankenstein crap that was on the sides. All I'm going to do now, providing everything fits in good, we're going to go ahead and try it. Then I'm going to need to remake part of this side panel, maybe just this arm piece I have to see, since it looks like everything else is good. But if everything checks out fine, then this one will be good. The only thing that'll be left is just to go around and just kind of patch it up, any of the gaps, so that way we can sand it nice and smooth and prime it again and get it ready for paint. So let's go ahead and drop it into the vehicle and see how it works. All right. Go ahead and put the nut in here to fasten that in. There we are. Nice, looking good, looking good. A little bit tight here in the front, but as I mentioned earlier, we need to take off about a 1/16 of an inch. Main thing is back here where it was hitting. It's clearing it nicely. We went ahead and made that arch like the real Lamborghini Countach has, where it curves more on an angle and then pretty much comes all the way back to the back part of the lid. So it's pretty much spreading out the whole that whole dimension of that lid there. So it clears it down and up with no problem. Only thing is we're hitting right along here, and I'll get a close-up right there, but that's all going to be sanded down. I didn't bring my electric sander. I forgot it when I came in town. So next time I'm here, we're going to shave off about a 1/16 of an inch. That'll set it in properly, and I believe this one's good. You can see it right here. The gapping along here and even here is about right, but then right there it's hitting that corner, even if we push this back. So it opens up with no problem, but then coming down, it's hitting right there. So once we shave about a 1/16 of an inch off, that'll drop right in, set it in properly, and allow this end here to go in the way it needs to, like that. So that way everything's nice and flush. This corner will drop in, that way it's not lifted up here. But either way, this is perfect. So it opens, closes, not hitting anything here. Another thing that I'll do is once this is all set and we have it perfectly aligned, I'm going to go ahead and right along here, fill that corner to make it straighter to match the edge here. So that'll be taken care of. Right there where it got chipped up, that'll all be nice and patched up smooth. So we'll widen it down here, clean it up along here, and it'll be a nice perfect fit for that to drop on in. And then boom, open, close with no problems. Well, this pretty much wraps up for this day. So we're going to call it a day tonight. Everything that I wanted to get done got done. We'll get up in the morning, apply these modifications that we had to do to this one to the other headlight assembly on the driver's side. Hopefully that'll go a lot quicker, and then we can get it pretty much the brackets mounted, get the side piece modified, get it all aligned and in place, at least to the point of this. We'll still have to come in and do a little bit of the shading and widening for it to fit perfectly, but if we can get it to this point, that'd be awesome. So I'll see you in the morning and we will continue. Good morning and welcome to day 2. Got up early this morning, went ahead and finished this assembly piece right here, adjusted the inner bracket, got all that fastened in there. So now, just simulating right here, let's say that the headlight motor is attached with the arm, you turn it on, pops up, right back down. The only thing, as we've already talked about, just need to do about a 1/16 of an inch cut, well not a cut, but just kind of shave down right there so that way it can tuck back in. And then once that's done, I'm going to get a close-up. Gapping is actually really good. Just need to, next time in here, just make that 1/16 inch, clean up around the assembly itself with the electric sander, get it nice and smooth, and then just patch up any imperfections. And this side is ready for the motor to be installed. So it's nice and smooth, nice and solid. Up and down. So now what I've started here is another thing I did this morning. Is I went ahead and I started sanding this down, not too well because without the electric sander I can't get it perfect, but just getting it ready to be primed. So that's in place here. However, I haven't attached any of the brackets inside. I'm just pretty much just getting placement ready. So that'll be in there like that. So that's where we are now. I'm going to go ahead and start epoxying those pieces in with the JB Weld fiberglass to metal high PSI epoxy. We'll get those set, let them dry, and then we can start lining this up. Get it situated. We'll go ahead and just do a quick coat of primer on that so we can see how it's going to look, and I think that'll wrap up this time here in the garage. The next time around we'll come in and pretty much clean up everything, patch up around there, get it all ready for paint, and then we can get ready to start laying out the motors, the relays, all that stuff to get them actually opening and closing. So we can go ahead and do that. We'll be right back. This is the other headlight assembly that goes on the driver's side. I just finished redoing the outer part of the assembly. We had to go ahead and apply the changes to the shape based off of what we did on the first one and what we discovered when we reviewed the actual Countach one that we use as an example. So this has been applied, clamps are on here, let's take them off. Everything should have dried properly. Take a look. And that way we can fit it in. The bracket has already been mounted. I mounted the outer bracket in there. It's already dried. This is nice and solid. That's been drilled out. So let's go ahead and put it in and see how it fits, if there's any adjustments that need to be made. All right. It's on the hinge now. I haven't put the inner one in yet, so it's still a little loose there, but let's just see here. It's looking good and clearing it nicely. Nice. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mount the one on the inside, and then we'll be back to test it. And then I'm going to also sand this down a little bit. We're going to prime it as well. That way we can see how it looks all uniform. And as with the other one, there's still some cleanup that needs to take place. Next time I'm in the garage, I'll bring the electric sander. We'll clean up the openings as well as clean up the lids, get them nice and shaped and cleaned up nicely, beveled properly and primed. That way it's a nice clean fit. But we'll be right back. Fastening this assembly in there now. We mounted the other bracket. Everything's nice and dry. Went ahead and put this together here and sanded everything down on the actual assembly lid. Not a perfect sanding, but just cleaned up some of the imperfections. So there we go. Open, close, nice. It's not scraping anywhere. Nice clearance of everything. So that looks good. As we had with the other one, still have an issue here where we're hitting along the front here. But once we trim off about a 1/16 of an inch on both sides, and then on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of clean up in there, smooth everything out, straighten everything, patch up anything that needs patching, any imperfections or any damage that was caused when we cut them out and doing this. We'll get all that patched with body filler, get that all sanded nice and straight. Then coming onto the lids, do the same thing. We'll go ahead and sand along it and make it nice and smooth, bevel the edges, that way it's a nice smooth fit. And then on the assemblies themselves, just do some cleaning up in here. There's some of the welding compound that kind of oozed over. I need to go ahead and get rid of that, sand all that down nice, and then we'll go ahead and prime all that. And then these will be done, and then we can move on to the motors. So I'll get a close up here of what we've got going on, and then I'm going to go ahead and prime this one as well, and then we'll come back one last time, look at them all primed in place, and then we'll wrap it up. You can see here on this one, this is the passenger side, I put a larger lip here. This one still has the older one that I had on there, so next time in the garage I'm going to have to get that off and put a bigger one on there because it's supposed to be a little bit bigger. But here they are here. You can also see some imperfections showing up with the primer, but this is just a test primer, just mainly for the lids against the body so I can see how it looks. Next time we're going to sand all that crap off of there, smooth it up real good, and then give it a final coat of primer, getting it ready for paint. I turned these on the side so you can see. This is the passenger side one that's more complete and ready to go. You can see I also put the washer going around the hole where it's going to be swiveling. I got to add it on this one here as well, and then down at the other end. So next time, in addition to putting the larger lip or ledge on there, I'm also going to put the washers on there as well before we finalize everything. That'll give it it'll kind of strengthen that area where it's going to be rotating on. Both of these have been primed. This one was reprimed because it was getting scuffed up. The other one, fresh coat of primer put on there. They've also been mounted in place. Let's go ahead and take a look, see how they pop up, and then I think we'll call it quits for this time working on the project. So we have this one here, come in here, turn the lights on, boom. Then it goes right back down easily, goes up, and then that one comes back down. And then if we come in here onto this side here, we have this one here, the same thing. Go ahead and hit that. That one comes up, goes right back down. That goes up, goes right back down. Just need to do the final adjustments that we talked about before with just making the openings a little bit bigger, cleaning things up, doing some patching around there and repriming it. We'll do that next time, as well as also trying to mount the brackets for the headlight motors. Hopefully get that done as well so we can get moving now that we've got them in place. So that pretty much wraps up this time. I'm going to go ahead and get the car moved, put it back in place, and then that'll be the end of it. wraps up this time here in the garage working on the Countach project. Got a lot done. Actually, there was a big milestone getting those mounted, the headlights. So as mentioned already in this video, next time in, we'll clean up around it, get them setting in properly, and then possibly, depending how long that takes, possibly mount the brackets that'll be holding the headlight motors. And then from there, then it's all downhill from there. It's just wiring the relay, the switches, the fuses, all that, and getting them working, and then rerouting all the electric for the bulbs, so that way the appropriate bulbs light up for the headlights and high beams and all that. And then we can get back on track with getting the body prepped for painting, which is only really one time in the garage, really just going over again, seeing if there's any imperfections that have surfaced, and then doing a light sanding on the primer, masking everything, and start painting it and clear coating it. And then from there, we'll move on to the suspension, which that's going to be exciting because then we get to mount the Pirelli tires that came in. I got to order the front tires too. We're going to redo the rims, restore them, do them in a kind of like an aluminum gray finish, so that'll be cool as well. So we're definitely coming down the final stretch, some fun stuff ahead, and then we can get this thing out on the road and see what it's made of. So pretty much wraps up this video. I hope it was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.